But if you want to send in messages about, the season 4 finale or the season 5 opener, both of which are amazing episodes, go ahead and send them in anyway, and we'll read them on future podcasts for sure. It's just a weird scheduling thing. But also, as a quick reminder, if you want to hear me and Karen podcast on a series again, please go and subscribe to my other podcast, Wax Episodic, wherever you get podcasts. First, Randy and Karen and I are going to be covering Alien Earth on there, which is just looking like it's going to be really good. And then Karen and I will cover the upcoming new Vince Gilligan series, Pluribus, starting in November.
I don't know why, but I thought Pluribus was starting like now. I was all excited, but I mean, it's good.
I'm glad to have a little time to.
Yeah. Well, you have Alien Earth too, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
You are, yeah, me too.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited for it. I love the Alien franchise.
Me too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're about ready to. We just covered, about a couple weeks ago, we did Alien, and now we're going to do Aliens.
Oh, I got to leave you feedback for that. I love that movie.
Please do. Yeah.
I just that movie is in my family lore. Like, when the kids were younger, when I was trying to round everybody up, I would always go, Marines, we are leaving. I still do it.
Hilarious. Wow.
I know.
I'm really into it. Did you watch? You must have. I watched the extended edition, which I thought added a lot.
Oh, Brian loves that edition because it's got a lot of tech stuff in it that I guess they just didn't think was interesting, but he loved it with the guns that fire rapid fire outside the compound. Yep. He loves that part.
Automatic. Mm-hmm. But there was also you could see the people in the colony before it happened. So you kind of got the contrast of the before and after.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not the Aliens podcast. This is Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 15, Us. I'll read the plot summary this time. It says, Glenn, Tara, Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita continue their journey towards Terminus, following the railroad tracks. When they reach a tunnel and find a message from Maggie to Glenn scrawled on the entrance, Glenn insists on going through despite the danger. That's not quite what happened. They found the message and started running, and then got to the tunnel. God damn you, ChatGPT. Anyway, you get the idea. Tara refuses to let him go alone. Abraham, thinking the tunnel's too risky and focused on getting Eugene safely to Washington, decides to split off with Rosita and Eugene and resume their mission. But while Abraham sleeps in the van, Eugene convinces Rosita to head for the other side of the tunnel instead. Inside, Glenn and Tara are quickly overwhelmed by walkers and become trapped. Just when it seems like there's no way out, Maggie, Sasha, and Bob appear, along with Eugene's group, to save them. Glenn and Maggie's reunion is heartfelt, and the now larger group resumes the journey together. At last, they reach Terminus, where a seemingly friendly woman named Mary welcomes them and offers food. Meanwhile, Daryl continues traveling with the Claimers, a ruthless group who live by a harsh code. If you want something, you claim it. Daryl plays along cautiously, still adjusting to their brutal rules. Joe, the group's leader, tells the others they're hunting someone who killed one of their own, though Daryl doesn't know it. That someone is Rick. So you asked for this one. Why'd you ask for this one?
I didn't ask for this one. That's okay.
You did too. You said either 15 or 16.
No, I'm pretty sure I said 16 or 1.
Let's go back to the text.
All right.
What are you doing here then? Okay. I keep thinking that these are the ones that you like. Well, what did you think?
It. I did.
Yeah, what did you think in general?
I do feel like it's teeing up the next 2 episodes, which are just amazing. But I do think it's really great in its own right. I'm really glad that I got the chance to deep dive into this one because I really loved it. The highlight for me is that tunnel scene.
Why?
Oh, I think that's just classic Walking Dead. Going into a creepy dark tunnel where you're already hearing roars coming from, what you're going to have. Have you read The Stand? Stephen King's The Stand?
I never did read that.
It kind of reminded me of when they went into a tunnel, and of course there weren't zombies, but it had that same feel, and it really gave you that visceral,
creepy
seeing of it.
I love that, of course. I like zombies in the dark and constricted areas, but it was really dumb to go in there. I know they're desperate, but yeah, no, don't do that. You hear coming out of a tunnel unless you had enough firepower to take care of it, which they didn't.
Yeah,
Like there was
I mean,
no
they
chance they were going to make it through there without help.
they did make it seem obvious that like you couldn't go over top of it. Because I looked back,
It would,
I like flashed back to it, and I was like, could they really not have gone over top? But then when you look at it, it's like solid
yeah.
rock.
Well, he said it would take. What did he
A
say?
day, I think a
A
day.
day out of their trip. I find that hard to believe, but man, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's they have to be put in peril, so they have to do dumb things.
Right. But somehow they all ended up ahead of them anyway. So, Abraham and Rosita and them.
Well, they drove around. That's what
Yeah.
happened. They went in the van. But you
Right.
mean like
Which Glenn could have done as well.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what they should have. Yeah, like so Abraham Rosita and Eugene went off to go to Washington D.C. and they were hoping to find a car. And they did find a car. But yeah, maybe Glenn and Tara should have also went to find a car.
Yeah. I
We're
think
thinking
with
too hard though,
the
honestly.
paint being wet, he was so like fixated on she's right there. She's right ahead of me.
Yeah.
So I
And
think
you
he
wanted to
couldn't
go
go
the
in the other
shortest distance
direction. Yeah.
possible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I for one thing, just great to see characters we haven't seen in a while, specifically Glenn, Michonne, and Carl and Rick, which is a benefit of doing these smaller stories focused on just a few characters, because then it gives you a chance to miss the other characters, and then when they come back, it's great. If we just have all of them all the time, then you don't get to experience that. So I like it. I like that it was a bit of a lighter episode, kind of like a palate cleanser after the Grove, the heaviness of the Grove, and then the crazy cannibals that we're going into. So I like they vary that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, this episode, something I didn't remember, I feel like more than most Walking Dead episodes, maybe I'm wrong about this, but there were so many little character revealing moments or reinforcing, moments that show their motives, their priorities, and their morals. And I kind of think that's what this episode was about. Like, what kind of a person are you? What kind of a person are these claimers? Daryl, what kind of a person are you? What kind of person are these new people, Eugene and Rosita, and a lot
Tara.
of, Tara too. Yeah. And then, and even old favorites like Glenn, you get some insight into their character in this. So I like that about it. So let's jump in. What you got?
All right. I'll talk about Eugene first. Looking back on the beginning of his arc, I feel like he was the absolute worst. Like, he's annoying, he's obnoxious, he's not funny. He is full of shit, and like he's a big fat liar, and I don't know how anybody ever believed that to be true.
Did you know the comic before?
No.
And so you came to this fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And you just thought he's full of shit right away?
Yes.
Back then?
And he did grow on me. Like, I do think he got funnier, and even his dramatic arc, and his becoming a more serious character, I did come to like him more. But in this beginning, that's all I could think of is like how annoying he was, and how for like a season or two, I really didn't like him. And I always liked Rosita, even though I felt like we didn't get as much of her until later seasons. I thought even in this episode, she was really showing her own, like where she's defending Tara.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, character revealing.
Yeah.
Like, that's there from the start. She's a stand for people that need protecting, and she's brave and not afraid to speak up and all that. But also a loyal friend, to Abraham and Eugene.
And even saying that, I did enjoy Rosita and Eugene's banter, even in this episode. Like, I thought the two of them, when they're alone together, are really cute and funny together. And you can see like that brotherly love that she has for him. And so I did like that. And Abraham, like if he says, we're going to save the whole damn world one more time, I just want to smack him. And so I was thinking, like, why was Eugene so fixated on? So originally, he's pretty fixated on not going to Washington, D.C. Instead, he's tricking Rosita and Abraham so that they can actually follow and meet up with Glenn and Tara. And then after they meet up with everybody, then he's like, well, actually, we need to go to Terminus. And I
Yeah.
think it seems
He's delaying
obvious.
as much as
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah. He just knows he has an expiration date
Yeah.
and he's doing everything he can to slow them down.
I think, too, like they mentioned they lost 8 people on the way from Houston to this point. I don't know if we hear any more about that, but it just occurred to me, Eugene wanted to make sure and go out of his way to help Glenn and Tara, because he's like, he knows if we head to Washington and don't help these people, there's no reason to go to Washington. I'm full of shit. So I'll feel like totally bad if we don't help these people. And maybe the fact that they already lost 8 people is weighing on him, much like Tara's feeling guilty. Eugene's also feeling guilty. He doesn't want to add more to that, for no reason.
I mean, I think it's less about him wanting to help others and more about him realizing that they need others because his story is full of crap.
Yeah. I think it's all of that put together. Like he's just, for one thing, delaying. So, because he knows once they get there, the jig is up.
Yeah.
So he'll do anything to delay. But also, yes, he needs other people. And I do think this is another character revealing moment showing that Eugene is a good person to go back and help these people. I mean, he's a liar too, but there's some good in there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. But I think I found him pretty annoying at the start too, and jarring because the way he talks, nobody talks like that.
Right.
But like you, I came to like him more as time went on, and I felt really connected with his story at points. I think maybe because he's more flawed than most, and so I relate to flawed characters more, they just seem more real, more human. It's ironic because in a lot of ways he seems the least real because of the stupid way he talks. But he also, I can identify with him, and I felt like in later seasons, those last 3, maybe even during the Savior War, I felt kind of a connection with him. And so now I think coming back to him in this part where originally I felt annoyed, I have more affection for him now because I know him, I know him now. And so, and I love how his speech patterns, if they're going to have to stick it in there, I do like that it's consistent. He's talking the same way that he always did. I'm well aware it sounds bananas, but looking at the fossil record, knowing what I know about this infection, you cannot say for certain that it isn't what killed off the dinosaurs,
I think he's just trying so hard to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, but he's also socially clueless.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's clearly,
I don't know.
He's talking
is he
to Tara.
Socially clueless? Like,
yeah,
he gets all these people to believe and follow him. Well, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean,
he gets people to change the trajectory of their journey just for him because
he's a bullshitter, but that doesn't mean that he's good at cluing in on when nobody cares what he's talking about. There's different skills, and he's good at making himself sound smart, I guess. Although, like you said, who would really believe this guy? I mean, Abraham needs a purpose after his wife died, so he's sort of ignoring.
And Rosita loves Abraham.
Voices. Yeah, but anyway, when he said, to Tara, when they're separating with them, they decide to let them go through the tunnel. You're both good people. I have to say that you're seriously hot, Tara. And then she goes, yeah, I like girls. I'm well aware of that. I laughed at that. I thought it was hilarious. So did they. They were all laughing. I wonder if it was like they really thought it was funny or they were in character. So I don't know. I think I found him more funny now that I know his character better. When back then I was more just annoyed.
I think he's going to have to grow on me again.
I can understand that for sure. When he was like flirting with Stephanie over the radio, I feel like for some reason that got me.
I agree. I liked him and Stephanie in that arc.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Later on. Okay, should I move on to something else or just talk about these guys? I'll move on. We can go back to them if we want to later. But I want to talk about Joe the Claimer's rules.
I'm glad you're doing it.
Because I got more out of this time, which was weird. He says to Daryl, going it alone, that ain't an option nowadays. Still, it is survival of the fittest. That's a paradox right there. So I laid out some rules of the road to keep things from going Darwin every couple hours. Keep our merry band together and stress-free. All you got to do is claim. That's how you mark your territory, your prey, your bed at night. One word, claimed. And then later we learn he has 2 other rules. If you don't steal, you keel, which I think means you die or you get beaten. And he says, and you don't lie. And when he was saying all that, my first thought is, yeah, this guy's a fucking asshole. He's the worst. And he is, absolutely. But also, I started thinking, there's some element of intelligence to this because he made a rule to create some order to save these guys from their darker nature. And I've thought about that in podcasting about these apocalyptic and bleak series before, how in history, going way back, if you came upon someone, a stranger, there was a good chance one of you would die, or that you'd have to fight because there was no rule. It was lawless. And the reason that we developed laws is to keep things safe for each other and fair too, so that we could stop worrying about all these dangers and threats because there was laws there and there were enforcers of those laws. And we could focus on progress, technical, civic progress, society, and arts and leisure. Like without laws, we wouldn't have had the time and space to figure out how to make all the different kind of foods we can make or put on shows, eventually movies and TV shows. Like all of that requires a structure that you can feel safe within to not just have to be able to defend yourself all the time, and so that this is like a kernel of that. But the problem with him is, with Joe, is his rules aren't enough to smooth out relations with strangers. They're actually hostile to strangers. And these guys, as we find out, are pedophiles. And Joe's fine with that. So this is about protecting themselves, but from each other mostly. But they're not good people. Their values are predatory, exclusionary. So they can't, good rules about dealing with other people couldn't come from them because their morals. I mean, I said this episode is about character. They have the worst character. But so his rule is a form of order, but only for those who are already strong or dominant, not to protect the weak at all. That's why it's Darwinian. He says, when men like us cooperate and follow rules, the world becomes ours. But the problem is that attitude creates enemies. That's the kind of rule where the strongest wins. And so that means you only win if you're stronger and you're going around challenging everybody. And so as soon as they find someone who's stronger than them or more clever or something, they're done for because they're just going around dominating and creating enemies. And sooner or later, it's going to bite them in the ass. And we know it does. Well, it bites them in the neck, next episode, because they find a stronger group, Rick and Michonne. And so I'm resisting the urge to relate this to current times. I will spare you, listeners, but maybe you get what I'm going
like,
there.
Yeah.
But Daryl says, "Ain't no rules no more," and I'm thinking, oh, you think there's no rules because weren't you like at the prison? You had a council and you were on it, so there had to be some rules there. But I still like that he said that because Daryl's group is full of good people who care for each other. So they don't have as much need for rules. They're just going to care for each other. And, but I do think if you really want to move past survival and towards thriving and building a future, that you need more rules, more laws, more regulations. It has to be balanced so that there's still freedom and everything, but you need a scaffold to hang your society on. And the show does deal with that later when the communities, the Alexandria Kingdom and Hilltop, draft this charter. And it's like a framework for cooperation across groups. So I like that eventually they did start to get to a more complicated set of rules. And then of course Commonwealth is another thing. But I don't know. I just thought
I mean,
that was interesting.
I don't know. Like, yes, I think in some ways Joe was super honest. He never lied. He never said he was somebody he wasn't. He never said he was a good guy with good intentions. He was very clear on who he was. But on the other side, he said he had rules, but it seemed like he was still the person who got to decide, like that guy they beat to death. They beat him to death because Joe said.
He even said, like, when Daryl asked what happens if you don't follow the rules, and he said something like, it depends on what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
How bad it is.
Yeah.
So he's being honest, like you're saying. That's the truth.
And I think the reason why he wanted Daryl to join the group is because he thought Daryl was like them. Mm-hmm. And none of this seemed new. Like, I feel like this is a group of people that get new people frequently and lose people frequently, just the way they lost. Was it Len?
I think so.
Just the way they lost Len. No, I think Len was the guy they beat to death.
Oh, this guy.
Because of the stupid rabbit.
Yeah.
And, I think that it was all arbitrary. Like you said, it was all arbitrary. It was whatever he wanted to happen. He would adjust his thinking to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. It's not too much different from Negan, honestly, though. It's like he's the figurehead and here's the rules. And if you break the rules, we're going to make an example of you. I'm going to iron your face or beat you to death. You know?
I thought it was very similar to Negan.
Hopefully everyone else will see that and go, oh, I guess I better not put my rabbit in somebody else's backpack and try to frame them, or else I'm going to be beaten to death, you know?
Yeah, that's what it's about. And it's about keeping everybody in check, because if you do something Joe doesn't like, that's where you're going to end up. And I feel like in a way he was looking for a replacement for some guy, because I feel like he has to do this performance every once in a while to keep everybody in line. So I'm going to get Daryl to replace this dude.
But that's not too much different from our society. We're all kept in check, as you say, meaning we can't go just take whatever we want out of the store. You know, we have to pay for it, or else they're going to make an example of us. They're going to throw us in jail or whatever the consequences are.
Yeah, but it depends on, you have to have things to lose to care about that. Like, if I'm somebody who's got a long rap sheet, and then I don't care. I'm just going to steal it, because the consequences they don't, you know what I mean? Like you and me would have some things to lose, but there are people that have nothing left to lose. So they just go ahead and do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, crime still happens, for sure. But we do the best we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never a perfect system. I mean, that's why you need a system that also helps everyone, so that no one gets desperate enough to do that.
I mean, here in Baltimore, if somebody steals from you, the police are going to say, call your insurance company.
Right.
Like, they don't even come out.
I mean, I got, what do you call it? Valve Steam Deck a couple years ago. It was a little portable game machine. Mm-hmm. And me and Nico were waiting for it we were watching the tracking and everything. And it came, the doorbell rang. We went straight to the door, opened the door.
When that
looking
happened.
Down was a empty box.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So I went down the stairs, just for listeners. I went down the stairs, and the FedEx guy was gone, which was weird because I went straight to the door. Mm-hmm. Went down to the stairs. There was somebody outside working on our house. I forget what. And I'm like, hey, did you see the FedEx guy? And they're like, yeah, he ran to his truck and took off. And I was like, God damn it, the FedEx guy stole my my Steam Deck. So the next day I pulled him out and I beat him up. No, I'm just kidding. I called him. And that's what happened. Like, the Valve ended up, I'm sure their insurance paid for it, and they sent me another one, but this guy didn't get in trouble. I was trying to get him in trouble, and nothing ever happened to him.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway, Joe the Claimer would have handled it.
That's right.
But yeah, all right, let's move on to, I mean, well, what about, feel like there's more to talk about with Daryl. Do you have a point on Daryl? Or not really?
Not
If you don't, I
really.
can go into mine. Let me just do my point on Daryl, since we're already talking about Joe. So Joe's trying to convince Daryl to stay with them, and he seems unsure for most of it. And like he said, Joe says, "Hey, this is our abode for the evening," and Daryl says, "There ain't no us." But you know, I was watching the whole time to see if Daryl would claim something because he was resisting the whole idea of the rules. And then at the end, he claimed like a radish or something on the tracks.
Or a
Claimed it.
tomato. I'm not sure.
Okay. And you knew right then, okay, he's buying into it to some degree or another. I remember next episode that one of my favorite scenes in the whole series is when him and Rick are sitting there after Rick bit out the guy's neck. And Daryl said, "I know they were bad, but they had a code. It was simple, stupid, but it was something. It was enough." So that part of it got through to him. I think specifically where the guy planted the rabbit in his pack and then he got punished for it, you know, and Daryl didn't. I think that had an impact on him. Like, okay, there's some fairness here. You know, that's kind of, I think when he tells Rick they had a code, I think that incident is part of it. Like the code helped me get what I deserved. And this other guy got in trouble or something.
Well, and that guy was trying to set up Daryl to basically get killed, right?
Probably.
I mean, that's what he was hoping and wanting. He wanted to hurt somebody, or he didn't like Daryl for some reason and wanted to get him, and that was how he was going to do it. So, like, on the one hand, like, it's insane to kill someone over a rabbit, but at the same time, I'm not saying they're right at all, but at the same time, like, he was trying to get that done to Daryl.
Yeah, and he didn't get away with it, and that impressed Daryl. But I think, just thinking about it now, I think that's the same guy that shot the rabbit that Daryl was hunting.
Yes.
And Daryl, and he thought, hey, that by the rules, that's mine. And Joe cut it in half. So he felt gypped. That's why he wanted to kill Daryl, because he's like, hey, that should have been mine. I claimed it. You know?
Yeah, I think they were beefing even before that.
Oh, were they? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, okay, it was the code also that got Daryl, you know, a little bit more bought in, but also there's this one conversation that I thought was telling. Joe offers Daryl this drink of hooch or whatever, and Daryl says, "I ain't been lit at dawn since before everything fell apart."
Yeah.
And Joe said, "Fell apart? I never looked at it like that. Seems to me like things are finally starting to fall together, at least for guys like us, living like this, surviving. We've been doing this from the start, right?" And I'm like, yeah, they do have things in common. They've lived outside of society more than most. They were always hunters and survivors, Joe and Daryl. And then Merle was even more like Joe because he was stealing from people. And that was, Daryl was influenced by that. Like he was going to help Merle rob the camp in the first place. So for Daryl to return to that, it would be a moral regression for him, but it's also familiar to him. And so I think, you know, people reveal their characters in this episode, but Daryl is still finding, like, am I this good person that I just was at this prison? Or did I need Rick and his people to be that? And now that they're gone and Daryl thinks probably dead, right? Am I back to who I was before? Or what? I think that's what and also, do I deserve this? And also, like, him and Beth had been talking about whether there are even any good people left. And maybe he's thinking, this is just all me speculating, but maybe he's thinking, maybe there aren't any good people left. Maybe this is all there is. You know, I think it's all of that together, him just sort of trying to find his place. And
I agree. I think if this was the Daryl of a few years later, he would never have stayed with them.
No.
I think it's because he's in this weird middle place where he's lost all of them. He just lost Beth.
Yeah.
He's just kind of flying out in the wind, and that's the only reason why he would even entertain staying with them.
Yeah. And the title of this episode is called Us, which is about identity. Like, does he feel a part of this group? Are they his kind of people? And I think, yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, during the time of the Daryl show, he knows himself. He doesn't need Rick's group or any other group to know that he's a hero,
And he's going to do the right thing when he can.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about his story that I've come to love, is that he really found that in himself over the course of the story, which is really, really cool.
Yep.
So then, I loved when Joe handed him half the rabbit and said, "Ass end is still an end," because it's a funny thing to say. But also, that's kind of the vibe of his Daryl story in this episode. It's like, hey, take what you can get. Don't expect much in this world, And then he just eventually figures out, no, you can't expect more than that. Then one sort of unrelated thing, Daryl asked Joe if he's ever seen this sanctuary sign, and Joe says, "Oh yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's a lie. Ain't no sanctuary for all. Ain't gonna welcome guys like you and me with open arms." And I'm like, you're right about that. But it's interesting that it's the cynical guy who finds the truth in this case, because I think Joe sees the world through the filter of who he himself is. Like, I'm an asshole, and so I can't trust anyone else. In this case, he's right. But Beth and Daryl were going back and forth about whether there were good people left, and we've already seen in this episode, there's so many good people: Eugene, Rosita, Glenn, Tara, Maggie, and the whole group is full of good people. So,
and I'm not defending the hunters, but if it was a group like Joe's group that turned sanctuary into no sanctuary.
Yeah, I know. Then there's this great setup for the next thing where Joe tells Daryl the story of fighting Rick in this house, and we know it's Rick, but Daryl doesn't, and they're going to go after him. I just like that setup.
Yeah, and they're real mad at Rick for that, but the reality is, if Rick hadn't have killed that guy, they would have killed Rick.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
And that's kind of my point about them. With their disposition, they're just going around looking for a fight, and they're going to get it.
Yeah, they're looking for trouble.
Yeah, they're looking for trouble, and they're going to find it.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I want to say is I just think Jeff Kober is really good in this role. It's a combination of this danger and wildness, but also kind of an approachability and almost a fatherliness in there, all wrapped up into one. And I found that with Jeff Kober when I'd interview him at conventions, like sometimes we laugh together, but other times he'd say something kind of sharp, like he kind of turned on me or something. It was fun.
You could see like he was really trying to court Daryl,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was really, really interesting.
And the two of them were good together. Like, I thought their scenes were great.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah. But I wasn't so upset that they didn't last long as I was that Gareth didn't last as long.
Oh, I agree. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted Gareth
We
to be
needed a whole
longer.
season for Gareth. But also maybe it would have been a little diluted had we not had that. Yeah. And we wouldn't have the same thoughts on him.
Leave you wanting more.
Yes.
That was a little too short, I would say. Maybe one or two more episodes would have been good.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
I wanted to talk about Glenn and Tara and the tunnel scene.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot how sweet these two were together. I have always loved Tara, and I feel like the show didn't do enough with her character. I'm probably one of the few people that loved the bottle episode that Tara was in, where she goes to Oceanside. I really like Tara, have since the Governor's episodes, which I also liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought Tara was so invested in Glenn finding Maggie. You could see how emotionally wrapped up she had become in that when Glenn finally sees the sign that indicates that, yes, Maggie's alive, and yes, they're going in the same direction. it's like you can see it all written over. Of course, you can see it on Glenn's face, but you can see it all written on Tara's face as well.
Yeah.
She's so happy and excited for Glenn, and so invested in this journey that he's taking. And I thought that was really good. The two of them together are really sweet.
She kind of blames herself, rightly or
Yes.
wrongly, because she was part of the group that attacked, and Maggie could be dead now.
She feels very guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, by the time they're in the tunnel, you can see that they're really bonded together. Um, she feels really guilty about the prison massacre, and in the end, they save each other. Like Tara selflessly, tries to egg Glenn on to leave her when she's stuck. And Glenn selflessly refuses to leave her and risks everything, dying, ever seeing Maggie again to
Yeah.
save her. And I really like that.
I felt critical of Glenn, of course, for ignoring that Tara was clearly injured and needed some time to rest. And he's like, let's keep going. All right, you can keep going, right? And she's like, of course, going to do anything to help him. But for him, so I was glad to see that he wouldn't just leave her there, right? So it's like finding Maggie as soon as possible is more important to him than worrying about Tara's discomfort and injury. But it's not more important than Tara's life, like to the point where he would even give up his own rather than leave her. So that's the Glenn we know and love.
Yes. And I think for a long time, Tara's like, Glenn is the only person that's really her friend for a while. Even after this. But I love the tunnel scene. I feel like it's everything The Walking Dead was and should be. Dark, scary, suspenseful, with lots of creeping, decaying, roaring zombies.
There's a famous one in there. Did you know that?
A famous person?
No, one of the zombies is made up to look like Bub from Romero's Day of the Dead.
Yes, I did see that in the notes. I can't, I don't know which one it was, though.
I'd forgotten, but just watching it, if you're looking out for it, you'll see it. He's got the big, thick makeup.
Oh, this episode had such excellent zombie gore in it. It really had a lot of over the top zombie gore, and I liked that. There's one scene where you're looking at the scene, but there's a zombie like off to the side in your way, and the zombie, like the spine is showing, and there's like literal holes showing through the zombie. It's so great.
Or the one where one dragged its cheek across
in the beginning.
Barbed wire.
Yes. Yeah, this episode gave all the zombie gore.
It was good. And my favorite was, I love the tunnel, but when they found the van, Abraham, and he closed that one in the sliding door.
Oh, the soccer mom.
She was going, and then he shoved a knife, I guess, through under her chin. And I don't know why, but I think it was the way the zombie actor played it felt more, I felt more than I usually do. We're so desensitized, but it just really got me. Like
she seemed pretty fresh.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so. And then it said on one of the kids had written, "Leave my mama alone," or something.
Which of course he didn't see until afterwards.
Yeah, let mama be.
Yeah, and then he just windshield wiped all over it.
He would have ignored it anyway, probably.
I mean, they
needed a car.
Exactly. Like it is kind of dire situation, so feel like the dead will forgive us.
Yeah.
And of course, at the end, we get the Maggie Glenn reunion that we've been waiting for. It was so wonderful, and kind of the official melding of the new people, Tara, Rosita, Abraham, and Eugene, into our merry band of folks. So I liked that.
Me too. I'd forgotten that was like when the cavalry came to save Glenn and Tara. I just thought it was Abraham and his people. And then when Maggie was there, I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. That's cool.
A couple details I read on the wiki about this was the episode was shot over Halloween 2013, so the entire crew was dressed up
Oh,
during
wow.
this.
That's the weekend of the very first Walker Stalker, by the way. We were in Atlanta.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even started listening to the podcast at that point. The outside of the tunnel was made over a tiny bridge. It was constructed of wood, but made to look like concrete. The inside of the tunnel was built on the back of the still standing cell block D set of the prison. It was made of plywood and painted to look like concrete. I thought it looked great.
Yeah.
The railway tracks were made of wood. The cave-in rocks were made of styrofoam. Grace Walker was the production designer who made those sets, and some of the walkers who were buried in the rubble were professional contortionists.
Nice. I always like when they get, like Last of Us did that a lot. They didn't just hire some bozo like me to come in. They brought in movement experts.
Mm-hmm. I thought 28 Days Later did a really good job of that in the first movie.
Yeah.
The later movies, I feel like they just never recaptured that. But I mean, not that they were bad or anything, but I feel like the first movie did it so well. They just had these just unique jerking movements in their zombies.
As far as Tara goes, I thought it was interesting to kind of introduce her and Eugene around the same time, because I mean, this really feels like the show is entering a new era with these characters coming in. And Eugene was, as I said, kind of tonally jarring. He, to me, feels like comic booky just because I don't think anybody really talks that way. I know he's supposed to be like on the spectrum or something, but still, he sounds like a writer wrote his words, you know, or he's just this bigger than life character, not a real person. Tara, to me, also is tonally jarring, but for the opposite reason. She always felt to me like someone who just crawled into the TV, into the Walking Dead world from the real world. She feels more like a real person to me than the other characters. And I like that. I like her character a lot too. And more later, I think this stuff that I'm saying right now comes out. Like right now, she just seems shell-shocked and guilty. But as we get more of her personality, she starts to feel more like, oh, you just seem like you're not even an actor. You're just a person, which is kind of interesting, but I liked it.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is the actress, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, probably all of it. Yeah. And I'm sure they started writing to Alana Masterson's personality too, because she gets sassy. Tara gets kind of sassy, and she wasn't like that as much at first. I guess she kind of was, but anyway. Also about Tara, so, you know, when he introduces her to everyone, he says he met her on the road and he doesn't want to sell her out. Like, he's not going to say, yeah, she's one of the governor's people. He's like, I met her on the road, and talks her up, points out that she helped him. He says she's just that kind of person. And that's because he knows her character. Like I said, this episode is all about character. The title is Us. It's about identity and who you align yourself with. And Glenn knows that if he introduces Tara as one of the governor's people, the others might presume things about her or want to kick her out or think she has no morals or whatever, or, you know, just bad person, that she's more of a them than an us. So I think, you know, Glenn's not, he doesn't want to lie to people, but he just wants to give them enough time to get to know her like he has before they judge her.
Yeah. I think she's not completely comfortable with that, though. Like, she wants to tell the truth.
It's something on her face. Like, you'd be wondering, what's
she
up
feels
with
like
you,
she
man?
needs to confess.
Unburden herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember when that goes away, but it does, because I had forgotten all about it. You know, she's not like the guilty girl the whole way through.
Well, and
for a while, maybe.
I don't know that, you know, people believe the story that they're told. You know, she thought that he was real and that the situation was real.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, no.
I mean, I just think
I
about like
totally
when they
don't
went
blame her.
and right when they went and stabbed a bunch of the Negan's guys, right? When they went and
Yeah.
killed, it's because they were told a story that they believed. Not
Wait,
that they were
who was told
okay.
the story?
Glenn and
Oh
our
yeah.
folks,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the governor made a point. He lied to them
Yeah.
about what was going
I mean,
on.
he lied about everything. He lied about
Yeah.
his name. He lied about who he was.
Yeah. And as
Yeah.
soon as I mean, Tara wasn't feeling good about it, but yeah, as soon as she realized, oh God, this is not what I thought it was at
Hmm.
all, then she immediately wanted to help.
And right, they hadn't been out much before the governor came to their house. Like they had
No,
been, right, they had mostly been inside.
eating junk food out of that
Right.
truck.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think they were fully aware of everything that was happening.
All right, I just had a real quick one on Rick, Michonne, and Carl fooling around on the train tracks, trying to outbalance each other. Well, Michonne and Carl, and it's really nice to see some joy. It really stands out on this show.
Hmm.
Carl wins the candy bar and then shares with her. That was so
Hmm.
cute. And even though that was all just a very small moment, it really stood out to me in this episode. In fact, I thought that they were a bigger part of this episode because that's the scene I remember the most, I think.
Is that the only scene with them?
Yeah, I think it
I think
is.
it's just like, don't forget about us.
Yeah, because we hadn't seen him in a while, and it was really good
Yeah.
to see Rick after all this time. But also, I remember feeling like, yeah, they just seem like a family, and
Hmm.
I was shipping Rick and Michonne for sure at this point.
I really didn't ship them. And it came as a shock to me when they did get together, but I loved it. I
Hmm.
loved them together. And that's what I was thinking when I saw this scene is, we're really seeing Michonne kind of grow into, this kind and nurturing the mom that she becomes,
Yeah.
not just to CJ and Judith, but also to Carl.
Wait, who's CJ? You mean
CJ? Is it
RJ?
CJ? RJ.
RJ.
Carl Jr.
That would be a twist. All right, what else?
Um,
Anything
I
else?
thought that it ends on such a hopeful, peaceful
I
note
know.
as they arrive to Terminus. We have a happy, pretty song. It's called Be Not So Fearful by A.C. Newman. It is really a nice song.
Hmm.
And all the props are there. Like there's the gates open, it's got a nice peaceful sign, put your arms down,
Plants.
come on in. Right, there's sunflowers,
Hmm.
vegetable gardens, market umbrellas with a barbecue grill, somebody cooking. What could go wrong?
Yeah. And it made me think about, I try to think about these things as a writer, even though I'm not a writer, and as a creator. And I just think it would be so interesting. And it's impressive to me that you can have an understanding of where your audience is emotionally, as in hopeful right now, while knowing that there's horrors awaiting, but you have to embody that hopefulness right now. You
Yeah.
can't hint at they do kind of hint at it because they see Mary cooking meat. I'm like, that's last week's guest. And
Hmm.
if you read the comics, you knew there was a cannibal storyline somewhere around this time.